Imagine awakening to the unsettling realization that the life you've been living is not entirely your own. The choices you've made, the beliefs you've held, and even the desires that propel you forward, how many of them stem from your true, innermost self? And how many are merely echoes of societal expectations, cultural conditioning, and unseen influences that have shaped you from birth? Carl Jung, one of the most influential minds in depth psychology, urged us to ask these difficult questions. He recognized that much of what we consider our identity is in fact a carefully constructed persona, a mask we wear to fit into the world. But beneath this persona lies something far more profound: the authentic self, waiting to be discovered. The question is, how much of your life is dictated by this external conditioning rather than by your true nature? Do you ever feel as though you're merely playing a role, following a script written by society, your upbringing, or the quiet fears that linger in the recesses of your mind? Jung proposed that life does not truly begin until we embark on the journey of individuation, the process of integrating all aspects of ourselves, both light and shadow, to become whole. But why do so few people undertake this journey? What holds them back? From the moment we are born, we are given names, identities, and roles to play. We are taught what is acceptable and what is not, what earns praise and what invites disapproval. This conditioning is so subtle and pervasive that we rarely stop to question it. Over time, we learn to suppress the parts of ourselves that do not align with these external expectations. The creative child who once spoke freely may learn to hold back for fear of being judged. The dreamer who imagined endless possibilities may be told to be realistic. Slowly but surely, the authentic self is buried beneath layers of adaptation. Jung warned that if we do not confront this conditioning, we risk spending our lives unconsciously following paths that are not truly our own. The persona we craft for the world may bring social acceptance, but at what cost? When we identify too strongly with this mask, we lose touch with our deeper essence. But here's the profound truth. Buried within the parts of yourself that you've ignored, dismissed, or suppressed lies the key to your true potential. Finding yourself is not simply about gaining self-awareness, it is about reclaiming the parts of you that were cast aside. And as we continue this journey, we will explore the hidden forces that shape your identity and the powerful realization that has the potential to transform not only how you see yourself, but how you engage with the world. Think back to your childhood. Were there moments when you expressed yourself freely only to be met with disapproval? Perhaps you were told to be more realistic, stop being so sensitive, or that certain emotions and desires were inappropriate. Over time, you unconsciously learned to suppress these aspects of yourself, tucking them away where they would no longer invite criticism or rejection. In doing so, you began to construct a carefully curated version of yourself, what Carl Jung referred to as the persona. The persona is the face we present to the world. It helps us function in society, navigate relationships, and earn acceptance. But Jung warned that if we identify too closely with this mask, we risk losing touch with our authentic selves. We begin to mistake the persona for our true identity, unaware that beneath it lies a vast, uncharted inner world. Yet, just as we curate what we show to the world, we also suppress what we reject within ourselves. This hidden reservoir of denied emotions, fears, instincts, and even unrealized strengths forms what Jung called the shadow. If the persona is our public identity, the shadow is its opposite, the part we exile to the depths of our unconscious. But here's the paradox. The shadow doesn't simply disappear because we ignore it. Instead, it operates in subtle, unconscious ways, shaping our thoughts, behaviors, and emotional reactions. It often reveals itself through projection, when we dislike certain traits in others without realizing that those very traits exist within us. Have you ever found yourself inexplicably irritated by someone's arrogance, impulsivity, or emotional intensity? Jung believed that our strongest reactions toward others often mirror the very aspects of ourselves that we have disowned. Yet, within the shadow lies something extraordinary, the key to our wholeness. The parts of ourselves that we suppress are not merely flaws to be eradicated, but fragments of our psyche that, when acknowledged, hold immense potential for growth. Jung's great insight was that true psychological development does not come from eradicating the shadow, but from integrating it. By facing what we have denied, we reclaim lost parts of ourselves, unlocking a deeper sense of personal power, authenticity, and freedom. This is the beginning of the real journey, the journey toward individuation. Are you ready to question everything you thought you knew about yourself? To strip away the illusions that have shaped you? Because what lies ahead is not just a new way of seeing yourself, but a transformation in how you engage with life itself. Most people go through life believing they already understand who they are. They define themselves by their name, their job, their cultural background, or their past experiences. But what if I told you that your identity is far more complex than you realize? That the self you perceive is merely the tip of the iceberg, just a fragment of a much deeper, more intricate reality. Carl Jung proposed that within each individual lies a vast and intricate inner world, a hidden landscape composed of forgotten memories, suppressed emotions, unacknowledged desires, and untapped potential. The path to true self-discovery is not about crafting a new identity, but about unveiling what has been buried within. Pause for a moment and reflect. Have you ever experienced a deep, indescribable yearning for something beyond your current reality? A subtle yet persistent sense that a more authentic version of yourself is waiting to emerge. This is not mere fantasy. It is the voice of your unconscious mind urging you toward deeper self-awareness. Jung called this process individuation. He believed that genuine fulfillment does not come from adhering to societal expectations, but from integrating all aspects of oneself, the strengths and weaknesses, the light and the shadow. Yet, before integration can happen, one must first confront what has been hidden. And this is where most people falter. Why? Because self-examination is uncomfortable. It demands that we confront the aspects of our personality we would rather ignore, challenge our ingrained beliefs, and face the internal conflicts that subtly dictate our lives. Consider this. How often do we avoid silence? How often do we immerse ourselves in work, social media, entertainment, or other distractions simply to escape our own thoughts? This constant stimulation is not accidental. It serves as a defense mechanism, shielding us from the deeper questions we instinctively avoid. However, no matter how much we try to suppress these inner truths, they do not disappear. Instead, they manifest in unexpected ways through anxiety, self-sabotage, unfulfilling relationships, or a lingering sense of disconnection. Jung suggested that our unconscious mind is always communicating with us. Yet, we have been conditioned to ignore its messages. But when we begin to listen, patterns start to emerge. We start to recognize how our unhealed wounds shape our choices, how our suppressed desires influence our behaviors, and how our deepest fears often hold the keys to our greatest growth. Let's take a common example: the fear of rejection. Many people navigate life terrified of judgment or abandonment. They strive for approval, avoid conflict, and suppress their true thoughts to maintain social harmony. But where does this fear truly originate? Is it merely about external validation, or is there something deeper at play? Perhaps it stems from a childhood wound, an experience of feeling unseen, unheard, or unworthy. Jung would argue that this fear is not just an emotion, but a shadow aspect of the self, one that remains unresolved. And until it is brought into conscious awareness, it will continue to influence one's actions from beneath the surface. True liberation comes not from avoiding the shadow, but from integrating it, embracing the very aspects of ourselves that we have long suppressed. Because in doing so, we reclaim the parts of our psyche that were lost, and with them, we unlock a profound sense of authenticity, purpose, and inner peace. But here's the incredible truth: when we finally confront the hidden parts of ourselves, they lose their hold over us. Imagine a life where you no longer fear judgment, a life where you can speak your truth without hesitation, make decisions not based on external expectations, but on what truly resonates within you. This is the power of individuation. It is not about becoming someone new. It is about returning to the most authentic version of yourself. But how do we begin? How do we uncover the unconscious forces that continue to shape our lives? Jung believed that one of the most profound ways to access the unconscious was through symbols, dreams, and self-reflection. He saw dreams as messages from the deeper self, revealing hidden truths about our psyche. He also emphasized the importance of creative expression art, writing, music, and other forms of exploration as a gateway to integrating the unconscious mind. However, perhaps the most crucial step is simply this: awareness. The moment you begin to question your thoughts, your reactions, and your deeply held beliefs, you are already taking the first steps toward transformation. The moment you stop running from discomfort and start facing it with curiosity, you begin to reclaim your true self. Because here's the reality: most people go through life as strangers to themselves. They follow the paths laid out for them, never realizing they have the power to choose a different direction. They suppress their true nature, unaware that their greatest strength lies in embracing all that they are. But you don't have to be one of them. You have the power to break free from the illusions that have held you back, to shed the layers of conditioning and fear that have kept you from fully experiencing life, and to step into the fullness of who you are, unafraid and unapologetic. And in the next part, we will explore something even more profound: the hidden archetypes within you. These ancient patterns, buried deep in your psyche, hold the key to unlocking your greatest potential. What you are about to discover may change the way you see yourself forever. If the journey to finding yourself were as simple as making a decision, everyone would already be living in complete alignment with their true nature. But as we've seen, the process is far more complex. It is not just about choosing who we want to be, it is about uncovering the forces that have shaped us, facing the parts of ourselves we have rejected, and integrating them into a whole, authentic identity. Why do we find ourselves drawn to certain behaviors, desires, or fears? Why do we unconsciously repeat the same patterns, even when we are aware of them and actively seek to change? Carl Jung offered a groundbreaking perspective on this phenomenon. He proposed that our behaviors are not entirely random, but instead shaped by deep-seated psychological patterns, what he called archetypes. These are universal, symbolic forces embedded within the human psyche, influencing the way we think, feel, and act, often without us even realizing it. Jung introduced the concept of the collective unconscious, a reservoir of inherited memories and experiences that transcend individual lives. He argued that throughout history, humanity has told variations of the same fundamental stories: the hero's journey, the wise mentor, the looming shadow, the innocent child, because these archetypes are reflections of psychological realities we all share. They manifest not only in myths and legends, but also in our personal experiences and unconscious drives. Take, for example, the hero archetype. It represents the part of you that longs for purpose and growth, the inner drive that pushes you to overcome challenges and evolve into a more actualized version of yourself. Yet, no hero's journey is complete without confronting adversity. This is where another powerful force enters: the shadow. Jung described the shadow as the hidden, often repressed aspects of our psyche, our fears, insecurities, and even the parts of ourselves we refuse to acknowledge. In myths, the hero often faces a great monster, enemy, or obstacle, symbolizing the internal struggle between the conscious self and the unconscious shadow. This battle is not just a fictional trope. It plays out in our everyday lives. Think of a time when you wanted to change, but something held you back. Perhaps you hesitated to take a risk, doubted your abilities, or found yourself sabotaging your own progress. This internal resistance is not mere weakness. It is the unconscious fear of stepping into the unknown, a clash between the hero in you and the unresolved aspects of your shadow. Many people make the mistake of trying to suppress the shadow, believing that ignoring their fears or insecurities will make them disappear. However, Jung believed true personal growth happens through integration, not avoidance. Rather than rejecting the shadow, we must learn from it. For instance, if you struggle with self-doubt, instead of dismissing it, ask yourself, where does this doubt come from? Is it truly yours, or has it been shaped by past experiences, societal conditioning, or the expectations of others? Within this doubt, could there be hidden strengths such as a capacity for introspection, a desire for wisdom, or a unique perspective that others lack? By confronting, understanding, and integrating these unconscious forces, you reclaim control over your own transformation. The journey to self-discovery is not about becoming someone new. It is about embracing all that you already are, including the parts you have yet to fully acknowledge. When we begin to view our struggles not as flaws, but as signals from the unconscious, a profound shift occurs. Rather than seeing our inner conflicts as obstacles, we can start to understand them as guides, pointing us toward the deeper work of self-discovery. But archetypes extend far beyond just the hero and the shadow. There are many psychological forces within us. each playing a crucial role in shaping our identity. One of the most transformative of these is the anima and animus, the hidden dimensions of our psyche that Jung saw as essential to wholeness. Jung proposed that within every man exists an unconscious feminine aspect, which he called the anima, and within every woman exists an unconscious masculine aspect, the animus. These are not merely reflections of gender, but rather symbolic representations of the dual energies within every human being. The anima embodies qualities often associated with the feminine intuition, emotion, creativity, and a profound connection to the unconscious. The animus, on the other hand, represents traits typically linked to the masculine logic, structure, discipline, and assertiveness. When these energies are harmonized within us, we experience a sense of balance and inner completeness. But when they are suppressed or distorted, they can lead to deep psychological struggles. For example, a man who rejects his anima may find it difficult to express his emotions, fearing vulnerability as a form of weakness. This repression can result in emotional detachment, difficulty forming deep relationships, or an overemphasis on control and rationality. Similarly, a woman who disowns her animus may struggle with self-assertion, hesitating to take charge of her own life, or voice her opinions with confidence. Yet, Jung believed that these inner opposites are not meant to be denied, but embraced. The anima can be a source of profound emotional intelligence, empathy, and artistic inspiration. The animus can provide strength, determination, and clarity of purpose. When integrated, they become powerful allies on the path to individuation, the process of becoming a fully realized and authentic self. And this leads to one of the most profound insights Jung uncovered. True self-discovery requires the integration of all aspects of who we are, the light and the dark, the masculine and the feminine, the known and the unknown. To individuate is not to become something entirely new, but to reclaim the wholeness that has always been within us. However, there is one final revelation, one missing piece that ties everything together. The greatest obstacle to discovering ourselves is not just fear, self-doubt, or societal conditioning. It is something even deeper, something embedded in the very way we perceive reality itself. And in the next part, we will uncover it. What you are about to explore may challenge everything you thought you knew about yourself, and it might just transform the way you see the world forever. Throughout this journey, we have examined the hidden forces shaping your identity, the masks you wear, the shadow you suppress, and the archetypes influencing your thoughts and behaviors. But there is still more to uncover. The final step is perhaps the most powerful of all. Now, we must confront the deepest illusion of all, the illusion of the self. Most people navigate life assuming that their identity is fixed, that they are a singular and unchanging being shaped by past experiences. They define themselves through memories, labels, and societal roles, believing that these constructs represent the totality of who they are. But Jung, along with many philosophers and mystics, uncovered a radical truth. The self is not a rigid entity. It is fluid, dynamic, and far more expansive than we have been led to believe. What if the identity you cling to in this moment is merely a fragment of something much larger? What if the person you believe yourself to be is just one expression of a vast and evolving consciousness, one that carries the wisdom and experiences of countless generations? Jung explored this through the concept of the self, not the ego-driven self that is bound by fears and societal conditioning, but the true self, the wholeness of your being that transcends illusion. To recognize this is both liberating and unsettling, because it implies that everything you have believed about yourself, the doubts, the limitations, the rigid narratives, is not the full picture. They are merely constructs, temporary frameworks created by the mind to provide a sense of stability. And here is the most profound realization of all. You are not just an isolated individual moving through life. You are an extension of something far greater, an interconnected field of consciousness shaped by the unconscious mind, ancestral wisdom, and the ever-unfolding process of individuation. But if this is true, why do we feel so constrained? Why do we experience fear, suffering, and inner conflict? The answer lies in the nature of the ego. Jung never saw the ego as an enemy. Rather, he recognized it as the part of the psyche that constructs a sense of separation, the voice that says, "This is who I am, and this is who I am not." It defines borders, maintains familiar patterns, and provides structure to our reality. But while the ego serves an essential role, it is also the greatest barrier to self-discovery. Because in truth, you are not confined to a single static identity. You are a being in continuous evolution. And the moment you release your attachment to who you think you are, you open yourself to infinite possibilities. But how can you do this? How do you transcend the illusion of self and step into the fullness of your existence? Jung offered a path forward, a path that demands courage, deep introspection, and a willingness to question everything you have believed about yourself. Individuation, the process of becoming whole, is not about adding something new to yourself, but rather about uncovering and integrating what has always been there. 1. Embrace the unknown. Fear of the unknown is one of the greatest barriers to self-discovery. We cling to certainty because it offers security, yet transformation can only occur in the space beyond what is familiar. Jung understood that the unconscious, the vast, uncharted territory of the psyche, holds the keys to our deepest growth. By leaning into uncertainty rather than resisting it, you allow yourself to expand beyond limitations and see both yourself and the world with fresh eyes. 2. Release attachment to labels. Throughout life, we construct identities based on societal roles, past experiences, and external validation. But you are not merely your name, your job, or the persona you present to the world. These are only facets of a much larger self. Jung saw individuation as a process of dissolving rigid identities, allowing a more authentic, integrated being to emerge. True freedom comes when you release the need to define yourself within narrow boundaries. 3. Listen to the unconscious. Your unconscious mind is not a chaotic void. It is a deep well of wisdom. Dreams, symbols, and intuitions are messages from the self, offering guidance toward greater wholeness. Jung believed that paying attention to these signals, whether through dream analysis, creative expression, or moments of synchronicity, can illuminate the hidden forces shaping your life. When you learn to listen, you begin to recognize the path that has been calling you all along. 4. Surrender to the process. Finding yourself is not a single event or achievement. It is a continuous unfolding. The journey of individuation is lifelong, revealing ever deeper layers of truth as you evolve. There is no final destination, only an ongoing dance between the conscious and unconscious, the known and the unknown. And here lies the ultimate realization. You were never truly lost. The self you have been searching for has been within you all along, waiting to be remembered. Now, the question remains, will you continue living as a fragmented version of yourself, constrained by old fears and illusions? Or will you step forward into the unknown, embracing the limitless potential that has always been yours? Because true life, the kind that is fully, authentically lived, begins the moment you choose to become whole. And now, you know the way. Thanks for looking.